All right, so I'm going to begin by saying a few more things about KGB, which might help people to organize everything in their brain. So the starting point is always connected complex reductive group G, and an element of the outer automorphism group of order 2. That's sort of fix that once and for all, and we're going to be working in this setting. And that's exactly the same thing as picking an inner class of real forms of G. So we're going to be talking about representations of real forms, and the real forms are exactly the ones in this inner class. So you cut down to a smaller subset of real forms if there's more than one in your class. All right, and that's all the choices that are necessary. There's no pinning, there's no this, that, or the other thing. That's the data, the group, and an outer automorphism of order 2. Now, once you have that, you can define the following set. You can take the set of pairs X, B, where X is in G. I should have mentioned, we also get this group delta G, is G semi-direct delta.
So there was, after all, a pinning.
Well, even there, you think I really need a pinning? I mean, the group's well-defined with isomorphism. You're probably right, though. So pick up pinning. Choose a pinning HB collection of X alphas, and then you can talk about this group. Okay? All right. So now take the set of X's which are in G delta, that is to say the non-identity components of this extended group.
Wait, can you X primes and B primes?
We can do that. Sure, why not?
Just for the uninitiated, can you explain that comment about the pinning, about needing the pinning to?
So, let's start over.
Could you restart the tape?
So so far so good. There's no further choices necessary. But now I'd like to make a group, G semi-direct delta. So what does this mean? This means that delta is supposed to be an automorphism of G, so that I can define this group to be the set of pairs, the set of
got it.
the usual definition. And for that, it's not enough to have an outer automorphism. I need to choose an automorphism.
Got it. Yeah, sorry, I did see, I was confusing the O with the A.
I'll say it again, Peter. Don't apologize. And so this requires the choice of B, H, and the collection of X alphas. This is the pinning data. Okay. And okay, so now you make this group, and now you define the space X is the set of pairs X, B, such that
Can we call them X prime?
well, not X prime, but how about B prime? There's not an X already.
Well, okay, I mean, these aren't going to be examples of your X's. That's why
Fine. Let's take X prime and G delta, such that X prime squared is in the center, and B is equal to a Borel. No relationship between X and B, just these strong real form fellows. This is something whose square is central, and a Borel. That's a set. G acts on this by conjugation, and X is defined to be the quotient of this space after you find it out by conjugation by G. So this is the space X that I was talking about. I defined it slightly differently, but you're about to see why. But David's, so the reference for this is the algorithms paper. It's one of the in the references, and this is behind the scenes and everything I've been talking about. I chose what to include and what not. David said that it would help to unsuppress this, so here it is. And there's a map from here to the set of x's, contained in the normalizer in G of h, such that x squared is central modulo conjugation by h. Okay? And the map is, if you have one of these things, you can conjugate b prime to b. So this map here is choose G such that G b prime, G inverse is equal to b. You can do that. All Borels are conjugates, so you don't really need it. Pardon me? No, this is G in G itself. This is conjugation by just by G. So I mean, over here I'm just talking about a Borel. You just conjugate the Borel to the you're given Borel to the fixed Borel. This is the fixed one, fixed one. Okay. And you can also assume that this requires a little bit of thought, but it's true. You can also arrange that Gx prime, G inverse, is contained in the normalizer of H. Now this is the normalizer, sorry, in G delta. Is that your question? Sorry, thanks. The normalizer in G delta of H. And so you do that and you call this X. And that's the X here. And
I'm sorry, the G delta is part of the extended.
yeah, it's a non-identity component of the extended group. It's the elements in the extended group including that have a delta in them. Okay? And this choice of G isn't quite unique, but it's unique up to H, and that's where that H comes from. And it turns out that this is a bijection. Okay? So that's why I defined X to be this space. But it's quite helpful to think of it up here. All right? Now, the other thing you can do, instead of conjugating B somewhere, you can conjugate the X prime somewhere. Now, what somewhere do I mean? Let's choose S, or I think I called it I in the paper, is a set of X's contained in G delta such that X squared is central, which is a set of representatives of the G conjugacy classes. So you look at all X's. There's infinitely many of them. There's all orbits. There's lots of elements whose square is central. Look at conjugacy classes of those, and choose a set of representatives of those conjugacy classes. That's, if the group is semi-simple, that's finite. So it's safe to think of it as being a finite set. And there's a choice required. It's a choice of representatives. Make that choice and call that set I.
Sorry, Jim, what is X in an element in where?
Here,
Yeah.
G delta, whose square is central. That's correct. And so any X prime can be conjugated to a unique X in this set. That's what it means to be a set of representatives. And when you do that, so choose G such that G X prime. So I think what I did is I call these X I's, where I runs over some index set, is the way I think of it. And it's usually finite, so I'm calling it I. So you can choose, you can conjugate x prime to a unique xi. So choose such a g and act on b. Yeah. Choose such a g and apply it to b prime. That's a new Borel, and it's well defined up to what? I can modify this g on the right by, or on the left by the centralizer of this ki, and if you just think about that for a minute, what this says is that this goes to the disjoint union over I contained in I of k sub xi mod g mod b. And this is to say the set of k sub xi conjugacy classes of Borels. Okay? Yes?
Sorry, I don't understand what you say under the new set over the other right. Set of,
Choose a set of representatives of the G conjugacy classes of these x's.
X's.
These x's whose square is central. I'm sorry, what? Choose a set, collection of xi's, where I runs over some parameter set I, such that if x is in G delta and x squared is central, then x is G conjugate to exactly 1 xi.
Oh,
Okay? So this is the bijection that I was, this is the bijection that I was using in my earlier talks. This is the big K, this is the big X by this bijection. This is a bijection also. So this space X, it's the disjoint union of the KGB spaces for all of these KXIs. And by this bijection, it's parameterized by this combinatorial set that Atlas calculates. Yes?
So for the second identification, the B is the fixed one.
No, yeah, this B is the fixed one.
So you're choosing the G, so that's G B prime, G inverse is a fixed.
No, so on this side, I'm conjugating B prime to the fixed B. On this side, I'm conjugating X prime to X. I'm choosing the G which does that, and then I'm letting B prime go wherever it goes. The G which takes X prime to Xi takes my given B prime somewhere. And that's the Borel in this set.
So for different I's, the B's will vary.
Yes, absolutely. And the nice thing about this space X is it can be defined with fewer words. You know, or this side, right? You don't have to specify a real form or anything. You don't have to specify an xi. There's not this choice over here. This is kind of the universal X space. And we think of it as being the disjoint sum of the KGB spaces for all these different KXIs. And this is how you make that precise. And on this side, there's always this base point that you need to choose to make a precise statement. Yes?
Is I also the set of group forms in the given.
No, there's a relation. So these xi's here, so let's just say the group semi-symbol just to, there's this finite number of xi's, and there's a surjective map from here to real forms. But it can have a kernel.
This in a class.
Pardon me?
This in a class.
Yes. Yes, in this inner class.
Is the left-hand side of the arrow some other strong real forms?
Yes, this is what we, this is, to be precise, this set is a set of choices of equivalence classes of strong real forms. These xi's, these x's are strong real forms, and the notion of equivalence is just conjugacy. So this is a choice of a set of equivalence classes of strong real forms. David, you look troubled.
I mean, I can't stand the 11 of the abuses of notation on the board. Everything you say is it's all true the way you're using all the words. I can't stand using the words.
The equivalences, the notion of equivalence of real forms, for example?
I mean, it's just every word. They're not, a real form is something. Everybody knows what a real form is.
Well, but a lot of people have different notions. What do you mean this isn't this? All right. What do you mean by that? Is it the equivalence notion that you're troubled by?
That's an aspect of it, but I mean, a real form is an anti-holomorphic involution, and one of these things is not a real form.
So that is true. There's an abusive notation to refer to Cartan involutions as real forms instead of sigmas. That's true, but I can live with that.
But you didn't talk on this week.
Well, and there's a bijection. Dave is objecting that it's not literally the same thing. There's a
real form is an anti-holomorphic involution.
Fine.
Equivalence class of real forms is an equivalence.
Yes. So that
a Cartan involution is, it's one of these x's modulo z.
Sorry, x's.
Equivalence class of Cartan. Anyway, you asked why I was thinking.
It is true that occasionally that there are places here where I don't say, for example, I refer to real forms instead of equivalence class of real forms. So strictly speaking, a real form, as David said, is an anti-holomorphic involution. Now, maybe David will permit me to think of it as a Cartan involution instead, but in any event, there's still the notion of it's a fixed involution it's a fixed involution. And strictly speaking, you should always talk about equivalence classes of real forms, which is, and so then, anyway. So this set is surjects onto the equivalence classes of real forms. Yeah?
What is the right-hand side of the board have to do with the left-hand side of the board?
At this point, I'm not sure. Sorry, what's the question? The right-hand side is explaining this set right here. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's explaining that thing over there. This is all about, this set I is right here. Peter.
I think on the first day you talked about the map between the lower right-hand corner of that triangle and involutions, and that was when you were assuming delta was the identity.
Yes?
Would it make sense to talk about twisted involutions?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I said this afternoon, or this morning, and I didn't go into detail, but you're absolutely right. If you have one of these x's contained in G delta, you can write it as G, it's G delta, or for some G contained in G. And x squared is G delta squared, is G delta is G delta of G. And this is what's sometimes called a twisted involution. G is a twisted involution, meaning that
I mean, say something, that
It has to
G
be
is a twisted involution if.
I'm sorry, sorry. And we're assuming that x squared is contained in the center of G. And so this G, I mean, the G satisfies G delta of G is contained in the center of G. That's just translating the condition that x squared be contained in the center of G. And I think this is what you're asking, which is that rather than talking about the extended group, you can just talk about the group itself, and the notion of, instead of squaring, you have this twisted thing. Is that the question?
I mean, it really wasn't a question. It was just that that this space 5, there's a map to the set of twisted involutions.
That's a separate matter. You mean twisted involutions in the vowel group?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to get into
Because it's
that.
sort of,
All right. Other questions or complaints? Yes.
Something that's disturbed me about strong involutions and the formulation here is that the strong inner forms always have finite order in the center. And here you're just saying that the square is in the center.
Yeah, so let's just assume G is semi-simple to avoid that
Okay,
problem.
all right, okay.
And I mean, in the paper, it spells out this business.
Okay.
It's a little tricky.
Okay.
Anyone else?
So another part lives in the two sides of this bottom of the diagram.
Well, I mean, it's an atlas parameter is an x lambda nu,
Yes.
and the x is from this space.
So in some sense, you can, you have to put together different reforms.
Well, it's convenient to. It makes this statement simpler. If you want to talk about a specific real form, you have to specify an xi and just talk about the guys here, the x's which are conjugate to that xi. That's this x, what I wrote is x bracket x naught is the set of x's such that x is G conjugate to well, call it xi. This is this these spaces here, the x is the disjoint union of these sets. And it just takes a few extra words and then computationally it's actually more convenient to compute the whole space x and then worry about this later. So
those x bracket xi
yes,
are the kxi.
exactly. This thing is what's in bijection with k, xi, mod g, mod b. Okay, I'm putting my foot down now. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm a little bit confused.
Yeah.
How do you specify this x in the Ascos program? I thought if you the KGB program gives you the xi thing instead of the.
No, it gives you all of these. It gives you all of these x's, and I haven't talked about that. It's maybe I'll just say a word about it. So for example, in SL2C, if you choose x naught is equal to I minus I, then this x bracket x naught can be taken to be the set I, and 0, 1, minus 1, 0. And Atlas, maybe I should just do this example. That G is equal to, SL2R. What? Oh, that's funny. And then let's do print KGB of G. So Atlas says this set I'm talking about has 3 elements. Now, it's in some very highly condensed form. It's not literally writing down matrices, of course, but it has some data structure which identifies these things. And what it's telling you is that the last element is a Avogadro element, and the X is an element of the normalizer of H which maps to that. So for example, let's do the last one. If you look at number 2, the Avogadro element is S alpha. That's what this 1 hat E means. And so the corresponding X, it's an element in the normalizer of normalizer in G of H. And X maps to S alpha. So, well, that says that X is just it's not in H, it's in this other set, coset 0, 1, minus 1 over Z, 0. And using the TITS group, Atlas has a way of specifying exactly one of those. And in fact, what it chooses is 0, 1, minus 1, 0. But there's a lot of extra stuff to say here. The main ingredient is what's called the TITS group. So I don't want to get into it, but that's what the software does. Okay, I'm going to put my foot down now and say we move on. Not far, but just on a little bit. I have a picture here. Where is it? So this is the algorithms paper. Maybe this picture would be helpful. So what this picture shows is this is the entire KGB set for SP4, all real forms of SP4. There's only one inner class, so it's all the real forms of SP4. Okay, and vertically along here, along the bottom are the involutions in the Avogadro group. There are 6 involutions in the Avogadro group. There's the identity, there's the 2 short reflections, there's the 2 long reflections, and there's the long element of the Avogadro group, which is acting by -1. Okay? And I said that there's a map from X to the Avogadro group. That's the vertical map. So what are the elements? Let's look at this fiber here. We call these a fiber. What are the elements of X which map to the identity? Excuse me. So let's look at the set of X contained in X such that P of X is equal to the identity in W. All right. So this it's the set of T contained in H such that T squared is central. All right. To say that it maps to the identity says that it's in H, and the square is supposed to be central, and it's modulo conjugation by H. But H doesn't act on itself non-trivially, so you can ignore that. So it's really the set of T contained in H, such that T squared is contained in Z. And so what are they? If you write A, B for the matrix A, B, 1 over A, 1 over B, there's 1, 1, 1, minus 1, minus 1, 1, minus 1, minus 1, and then there's I, minus I, or I, minus I, minus I, and I. There we go. 8 elements. Okay? 4 of them have square the identity. These 4. Over here is the Z. These 4 elements, when you square them, you get the identity. These 4 elements are these 4. When you square them, you get minus the identity. Okay? Now, what are the corresponding real forms? What's this? What real form is this? Well, that's the identity matrix. So this is giving you the compact form SP40, as is this one. And these 2 are giving SP11, and all of these are giving SP4R. Pardon me? Yes, you're right, SP20. Thank you. Okay. David, this is your central. This is your central invariant. The SPs have central invariant I, and the split group has central invariant minus I. Okay. All right. So that's part of X, and let's look at minus 1. So what's the fiber over minus 1? So I want all of the X contained in the normalizer in G of H, such that P of H is equal to the long element of the bottle group. Pardon me? P of X, thank you. P of X is the long element of the bottle group. Modulo conjugation by H. Exercise. If X maps to W long, all X mapping to W long are H conjugate.
I mean, you're talking about SP4.
In SP4, I'm sorry, yes, in SP4. As long as W, this is true as long as W long is equal to minus the identity. And the group is semi-simple. Yeah.
The W1 being minus the identity makes the group.
Thank you. At least we agree about something. So that's an interesting fact. Think about that, why that's true. It's easy. And so that explains why there's only one KGB element over here, which maps to minus 1. And the down on the bottom, the cartons are given by the conjugacy classes of cartons are given by